Warning! What you are about to hear contains explicit language, adult themes, and potentially disturbing content. The views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts and do not reflect the opinions of anyone else, anywhere, ever, in the history of the world. This podcast is intended for an immature audience and should not be listened to by anyone, anywhere, ever, in the history of the world. You know, fuck it. You've been warned.
Ladies and gentlemen, dorks and dweebs, nerds of all ages, GeekPod Network Productions is proud to bring to you the most electrifying middle-aged guys in Syracuse, the Doctor, Hugh, the Pod Whore, Paul Showens. Alone, they are single geek beacons in a dark cop drama world. But when the mics go hot, they are GeekPod. God bless me! Hello and welcome to this week's edition of GeekPod. I'm your host, Paul.
I'm Hugh.
And I'm Corbs.
Boys, what you playing? Or should I say, this week's Valhalla check-in.
So, where are you in it?
Where am I? Is that what you said?
Yeah, you, Paul.
I am
Are you still hunting around?
No, I realized that I could do fast travel back to where I was starting. So I literally went right back to the beginning and got back on the ship and actually sailed without dying to the land. And then I started doing all the quests.
How did you
I don't know. I have no idea. I think I was doing the follow the shore thing, and then all of a sudden it blipped to me running in the scary like Shadowland. So I don't know what I did. I don't know if I let it crash into something. But
yeah, as far as I know, you can't do that.
Yeah,
I didn't think so either.
Crash your ship.
The only thing I can think of when he's talking about that is I noticed when I was having my issues when I was in the village there, the first raid you go on or whatever, after you get back and you talk to the king and all that stuff, and you go on the raid with your brother or whatever. I got hit with an arrow and it stayed in my shoulder.
Nice.
I was mystified because a lot of times you get hit with them and you don't see it. That one for some reason stayed in my shoulder and I kept losing hit points. Like I couldn't understand why.
That sounds
you were bleeding.
Glitchy.
Well, I get that reason, but I didn't. 9 times out of 10, the arrow doesn't stay in you.
Yeah, I've never
you
seen
hit with
that.
it and it's gone or whatever. But that one stayed and like I was
like
running
real
around.
arrows.
Yeah,
You could
like it really
you
went
could
down.
feel it like pulsing in the controller. I'm like, what the hell is that all about? I'm trying to run into things, see if I could knock it out or whatever. But
It's in the bone.
perfect. That's great.
So it's funny you bring up that first raid because that's where I did a save point and stopped last night. That's right where I got to, where I was going back to see Sigurd and basically go over and fuck up Jehovah, the dad killer. And because I knew that's what was coming next, is that I got to get on the ship and go raid his place. Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, it's now like 12:30. I think it's a good stopping point before we get into this shit.
So just to be clear, you played multiple nights this week for hours at a time and managed to get about 7.5 minutes past where you were last week.
Yes. Yeah,
okay,
basically.
Just making sure.
But now I'm at least on the right track. And I also found when I was wandering the hillside, I found another town and it threw me into this quest where I had to chase down this guy that was selling my dad's helmet and shit.
Yes, I did that one too.
I'm assuming I did that way out of order. And I didn't kill him. Like I let him live.
I didn't. I fucking tooled his ass up.
No. Like I chased him down and then we had a discussion and he gave me a key and I walked away. It didn't even give me the option.
Stole the key.
Oh, well, it didn't give me the option. Like I know a lot of all the other dialogue things, like you give the options for stuff, but no, it just went into like a cutscene. We're talking, and then here's your key. I'm gone. And he said, "Take whatever you want." And I assumed that I was gonna get to go take his father's helmet, but
he gave you the key, because when I talked to him, he didn't give me the key. He ran off, and I had to fight like four other guys.
Yep, that all happened. But then when I tracked him down,
oh, you tracked him. See, I found it like you by accident. I showed up on it, but I had already done like the raid and all that stuff. So I was going through. I'm trying to find like all the artifacts and the wealth and all that stuff. So I've been doing that the past couple of days. But I ran into that guy, and like I talked to him. I found out that it was in his dad's helmet and all that stuff. But then he ran off, and I got attacked by like 3 or 4 guys, and ended up killing them. And then I couldn't find him anywhere. Yeah, I was running around the village, and I was collecting stuff in the village, and then all of a sudden I ended up back at his shop, and he was there, and he ran off again. I'm like, oh,
it reset on you. You were wandering around the village for that long. It reset.
So I was like, nope. So I chased his ass down and just I killed him.
Yeah, no, like I said, I chased him down. And the same idea. Like then I lost him, and then he's just standing around waiting for you to catch up to him. Because I didn't know what was going on at first. He just all of a sudden beats feet, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why? Where are you going, dude? And that was when I texted you, Hugh, and asked about them name dropping Ragnar.
To which I responded, Paul, Ragnar was a real person.
Well, I think you posed it as a question. You were like, you know that's a real person, right? And I was like, well, now that I Googled, I do.
Yes, Vikings was originally marketed as a historical drama. Nice. Now, I do not know how closely they hewed to actual history because I did not want to look it up and get spoiled for potential plot points. I'm guessing, though, with some of the shit they showed on that show, obviously that isn't anything that's going to be in the history books.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was originally pitched like it was, almost like a docudrama.
Nice.
And I think the popularity, I think they might have definitely skewed off from that. And that's my impression of
it. It makes sense. But as I understand it, well, no, you're watching the show now, right, Corbs?
Yeah, I haven't watched much of it lately. Okay, but yeah, well, I'm like 3 episodes in or whatever.
Okay,
well, yeah, it's hard to watch Vikings when you're watching Supernatural.
It's true. It is hard.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna mention something that I came across in researching Ragnar, but I don't want to spoil stuff for the show for people that are still trying to watch it.
Well, aren't you still watching it, or are you done?
Yeah, but I've already ruined it for myself because of my historical research. All I'm going to say to you, Hugh, that should make sense is the snake pit.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So did that actually happen?
Apparently that was historically accurate. Yes.
Okay. That was one of the things I wondered about. And I always remember, I mean, forever after that, there were always, you won't even know this, but my wife and I, when something would happen, we'd both go, ale from curved horns. And you'll know what I mean when you get there. Okay. You'll even remember it in that cadence and everything.
I'll take your word for it, because that's probably going to be a while, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Season 4, I think season 5.
Yeah, definitely going to be a while, because I'm about the same spot Corbs is in season 1 right now. So.
At the very beginning?
Yep.
Well, I wanted to bring up to you guys to see if either of you had heard about the legendary weapon that was discovered in the game this week.
Is this the bow?
Yes, Nodin's Arc.
Yes. I saw that article.
Did you actually read it, or did you just skim it?
I think I read the whole article about how people are doing it.
Okay. It works. First of all,
nice.
Really easy. They've actually figured out how to legitimately get it. Excalibur's in the game, and people actually they decoded the Isu language, okay, which is the language of the ancients, which you guys will find out more about in this game. I assume. I mean, right now it's pretty light on this. This is a long-running Assassin's Creed backstory. It's pretty light on that, so I don't know how deep they're going to get into it. But they decoded that language, and then using runes on the spine of the Steelbook version of the game, and runes like in the cover art, and all this crazy shit. They figured out that the lake that is that where you find that island is shaped like Singapore, okay? And one of the developers for the game was based out of, it was Ubisoft Singapore, and there was a connection there. They figured out that Excalibur is the only thing that could break those rocks. But to let you know, Corbs, there is a super powerful legendary bow called Nodin's Arc. And when you get to England, okay, once you've got a decent amount of power, I mean, you don't want to fight anybody on this journey, okay? Steer clear, get on your horse, run away from people, so you're more powerful. But if you just travel north, right in the pretty much just to the right of the center of the entire continent, when you get to the top, there's one last large body of water. It's shaped kind of like Singapore, so it's kind of like a fuzzy circle type thing. If you go to that lake, and right at the bottom of it, just a little bit to the left and up into it, there's a little small island, and there's one tree on it, I believe, and there's a stack of rocks that looks like the rocks you get iron ore out of. But people discovered that if they hit it with weapons, nothing happened. Well, apparently, if you have Excalibur, it'll break. But what you can do, they discovered a brute force hack. If you hit it 3, 4, 5 times with your weapon, save your game, go to load that save, hit it again a few times, save your game, go to load that save. When you come back in, the stones are broken and the bow appears as having collected it on the side of your screen.
Oh, okay.
So the developers didn't know that was possible. That's not how you're supposed to get it. But it is a pretty sweet bow, and it would be super awesome to get that early so you don't have to worry about upgrading any other bows.
All right.
So like you said, I mean, at any level you can do it, just as long as you're dodging all the enemies and stuff.
Well, I didn't run into any enemies on my way there anyway.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, and if you take a slightly different path than I did, watch it. The nice thing about this bow is it's already like 7 out of 10 spots upgraded as well. So it's legendary, and it's also almost fully upgraded. So it's not going to cost you a lot of resources to finish upgrading it. Very, very nice weapon. I mean, that's an end game bow right there.
I like
So
it.
this can take out like legendary creatures and stuff in 3 or 4 charged shots.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I shouldn't be heading anywhere near England yet, right?
Well, you could have if you played more than a minute and 12 seconds every day.
Right. When you boil it down, as opposed to me just taking my leisurely walk through the mountains.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. Like I said, I've been hunting the artifacts and the wealth across the Norway or whatever. I've been raiding like the villages and stuff, like the villages and stuff like that. I raid all that stuff. I've been going through. I think I've got about, I want to say probably just over 50% of everything.
Good.
So,
You really should be doing that. Don't let my peer pressure make you leave.
No. I remember you originally saying that you should do all that stuff first, build up your character's hit point, skill and all that stuff, and all that stuff, and then,
Something else I learned this week. If you run across tungsten ingots, tungsten are what you have to use to basically upgrade like silver weapons. I forget what they're called, maybe fine or superior to legendary, to the last level. They are hard to get. There's not a lot of them in the game. I would suggest not upgrading any of your gear to legendary unless you're 100% sure you want to do it. I'm at a point right now where I need 3 tungsten ingots to upgrade one of my spears, and then everything I have I'm running as legendary. And I can't find any. I do know there's some there's more in the game. You get them in the higher level countries, which I could go there right now. But there's a limited amount of them, unless eventually you are able to get them from the fisherman's shack and the hunter shack in your village. The problem is you have to basically deliver orders to them. Like they say, I want, 6 of this fish, 10 of that fish, 14 of this fish, or I need X number of viper eggs and wolf fangs and things like that. And the orders they're asking you for, just at first glance, I mean, first of all, fishing's a pain in the ass. It's fun, but if you're fishing for something specific, then it gets difficult. The other thing is when it comes to getting things like viper eggs. I mean, I kill 100 vipers, get no viper eggs. I don't want to have to rely on that particular system to get those ingots I need, because it looks like it's going to be a real pain. So I did upgrade a few things, not realizing how rare they were going to be.
Gotcha.
All right, dead air. That's awesome. That's great. We have nothing else to talk about, guys. Come on.
Well, I didn't know if there was more knowledge to toss around here, because I mean, obviously I'm still very limited, because as far as progress in the game, I've literally not left the village according to what I've played yet. So, although I did finally find the tattoo shop that I supposedly have a tattoo upgrade for.
Nice.
But and Corbs, the where we found that the traitor basically that you killed and I just took his keys.
Yeah.
What's the story with the floating papers in the wind?
One of them, you're supposed to catch one of them. That's a tattoo upgrade. I saw that on YouTube.
Gotcha.
I was wondering the same thing. I'm like, what is that? Because you know, obviously you can click on, if you go to the map, you can click on like the gold things and it tells you right where it is and you can direct yourself to that area. Well, one of them was, I don't know if it was an artifact or whatever or something, but I noticed it. It was on this thing on YouTube I was watching, and it was a piece of paper that was floating around, and he was you're chasing this thing all through the village, like over the huts and stuff like that, down through the streets, and all of a sudden it ends up at the end of the dock, and that's where he picks it up.
Oh,
yeah. The problem is it's only there for so long. So
Right.
if you get there in time, it's going to disappear. Now, if you haven't noticed already, it's really neat that you can climb just about everything. But a lot of the collision system and the parkour system in this game, I don't want to say it's broken, but it's kind of fucked. Certainly, Odyssey was much smoother in this respect. So I mean, when you try to run and chase these things, you end up getting stuck on shit and climbing up stuff to your left, and it's a ridiculous pain in the ass. A couple things you can do to mitigate that. One, once you set it off, if you don't get it, it'll appear back where it is. You can always figure out where it is. And a couple times I've taken a more direct route through the city and gotten there and waited for it to catch up. Or you can intercept it on its way through. The other thing you can do is there is an ability. Is it called Charging Rush? I don't know. There's an ability that you can get in the game, and you have to look at the map and maybe look up a map and figure out which one. What it does is it basically freezes time and you run forward until you grab an enemy. So it kind of freezes time until you collide with something.
nice.
Well, if you get that and right before you're close enough to this thing to trigger it taking off, trigger that ability and run, it'll stay there and you can just, mash the triangle button and snatch.
Nice.
It takes off.
Okay.
So I started doing my skill upgrades now that you guys pointed out that I should be doing that. What power level are you, Corbs?
I can't remember off the top of my head. I've been doing the same thing. I had something last week when we were talking about it and Hugh mentioned about doing that. I had 12 skill points and I put them all on like strength. Like I did all the strength stuff and I've gotten a few more and I'm starting to go in different directions with everything else now.
Yeah, I started to spread out some too.
Yeah, starting to spread it out. I mean, my strength was pretty strong. So, but if you wanted to minus spin, I couldn't tell you. I'd have to go and look. But
Well, I only know because, like I said, I was doing it last night. Mine is right now a power level of 9.
Okay.
And I've been mostly dealing with the melee stuff, like right up in the center. Like I've been taking most of those skills, but I did go down and do I think 1 or 2 on stealth.
Yep, I did a couple of stealth too.
Yeah.
And then I think I did I can't remember a couple other ones, but mainly I've been doing like the strength. I did the strength to start. I went hit hard on the strength. I think I had, like I said, 12. I think I did 8 or 10 on the strength and then 1 on the other 2. And then I've gotten a few more that I haven't done yet. I was playing it for a little bit this afternoon. I played for like a half an hour before I had to go buy a new webcam. I gave the one I bought last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave to my son for school.
Okay.
He
was commandeered quick.
Yeah. Well, I bought the webcam last week and I used it for the podcast. But on Saturday morning, I hooked it up to my son's computer because the computer my dad bought him for his birthday gift last year his computer didn't come with a webcam. So when he's in school, because he's doing school from home, he's got a Chromebook. Well, the Chromebook is too slow.
They're garbage.
So I just said, well, I'll buy it, use it for the podcast tonight, and then we'll hook it up to yours. And if we have to, we can just switch them back and forth. And I was like, well, that's going to be fucking stupid. So we hooked it up to his on Saturday at work. And I was like, well, I'll just fucking go buy another one. So today I went to Best Buy and picked up another one. So
Nice. Have all the big
but I
sales
played for a
started
little
yet?
bit. What's that?
Have all the big sales started yet?
Not yet. And I did go to the one at the mall. There's still the one on the boulevard. The one on the boulevard is going to still be there,
Mm-hmm.
but the one at the mall is closing. So, but they hadn't said it. They hadn't seen anything sales wise. And I kind of looked through it. I was looking through like at the TVs and like the laptops and stuff like that. Just
they're just going to ship their inventory over to Erie Boulevard. Why would they?
Or they're going to send it. They're going to send it to the warehouse because everybody's just buying shit online now. So you'll get a few sales. I think you'll get a few things that they'll sell, but a lot of it will be, like Hugh says, it'll be shipped to the boulevard or out to, they got a store out in Utica. So they're going to ship it other places or pick it up online or whatever. So you may be able to snag a few things on sale there, but I don't think you're going to get much.
But probably nothing that's significant. Like if anything, they'll throw movies and games on sale. And
you're looking for deals on TVs. Holy shit! I was at Walmart today. They had a 70-inch TV for like $400 and something.
And Hugh, I was walking through Best Buy and I was looking at their TVs and they had like a 70-inch TV for like $1,300, and I'm like, I can go to Walmart and get it half that price.
I noticed that today. They had a 53 for like $298.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know these aren't like the big brands, but things like Insignia have now become respectable brands because Walmart's been pushing them for years. I'm just like, holy crap. I mean, my 43-inch TV was $400, and I'm just looking at, I can get one bigger than that, 10 inches bigger for half the price, just about.
Yep.
Right. And there's one of the brands that Target offers every year for Black Friday that I always scoffed at, that apparently is like one you need to take a second look at now, because it's like quickly becoming a really good brand. I want to say I thought it started with a T.
It's not Element, is it?
No.
Toshiba?
But the same idea. No.
Well,
I know that one.
I got
Taiwan TV.
I got an
TV.
I got an Insignia and a Roku.
Nice.
Roku's
Was that from Best Buy?
Nice. Yeah. I bought my TVs. I buy my TVs at Walmart. I'm under the same impression, and I tell people it's all the same thing. All the parts inside the unit are pretty much the same. They're all pretty much made in the same area by the same company. You're just buying the shell. That's what you're buying for the price. You're buying the name.
Yep. For a lot of them, yeah.
Yeah. So if I'm gonna buy a TV, a 42-inch or a 43-inch or a 50-inch TV, I'm not gonna be buying a Toshiba for $800. I'll buy the Roku for $450. It's the same damn TV.
Damn near.
So it's just I don't know. Maybe I'm naive in that aspect of it, but
well, there is a difference when you start looking at those high-end Samsung and LG displays, the OLED displays and stuff. I'm not saying you're wrong, because I could never afford one of those TVs, and if I was to buy one, I'd get it at Walmart. But there is a quality difference when you get into the high-end shit. Okay. And you want to see the difference, walk into BJ's, because holy crap, they have those giant TVs on display and they look fucking beautiful.
Yeah, they do. I was there. That's where I got my glasses from. So you're right. You walk in those TVs, they're magnificent in there.
Before we get too off track, I want to give you guys a piece of advice on your skill tree. Don't bother putting points in your assassin ability, or unless you have to get to another thing. Unless you don't want to do this, but in your settings, and you can change this mid-game. There's a setting to do insta kills for assassinations. The reason they put that in there is in the original games, Assassin's Creed games before Origins, when you assassinated somebody, you assassinated them. Okay, that was it. I mean, you put a fucking blade in the back of their head or whatever, they're dead. Starting in Origins, it would depend on your power level. So if you went after a higher enemy, it would take a bigger chunk than anything else you did, but they would still be alive. A lot of people complained about that. So while they said that the game isn't meant to be played like that, you can turn that on, and anytime you use an assassination, it's an insta-kill. So there's really no reason to focus on traits that increase your damage per assassination. That doesn't mean there aren't good assassin tree skills. But it's not necessary. You're not helping yourself, because those only apply when you do an assassination. And if you have that turned on, it's going to kill the guy anyway. And I
Gotcha.
personally feel that that's how it should be. I mean, I don't care how powerful or how high level you are. If I stick, an 8-inch blade in the back of your head, you're
dead.
not going to turn around and start fighting me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and
I
that's
found that I've done it like the assassination thing. It comes up, pops up, and you hit right one, and you kill the guy. I was in a spot up in the mountains looking for, I don't know, it was a book, like a power book or something like that. I can't remember.
Knowledge.
Yeah, a book of knowledge, and there was it's a small little like mountain town type of thing, and there's a bunch of the guys in there, and I assassinated like 4 or 5 of them, and it was like you said, back of the head, or he takes you down, stabs you in the heart or whatever, and you're dead. So I don't know if mine was turned on because I've done it. And I've had that. It hasn't happened where I've had to like hit somebody multiple times when you try to assassinate.
You're also low level, and so are the enemies in Norway.
Okay.
So you may want to check your settings for that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got that now too. I got my wrist blade and went through that stuff.
Yep. And it shows you how to use it and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And you're.
But where they were pointing, I was all confused. They're telling me that I have to jump off the ledge and do it.
Yep.
Or hang off the ledge and do it. And I keep trying to hang off of that half stone wall. And I'm like, this isn't working. Because I was on the wrong side.
Yep. Yeah, I remember doing that. I do, and the one thing they're like, it shows up and the guy turns red or whatever. The guy you got to kill, and he's like, "Oh, kill the guy. You got to kill the guy from underneath." And I'm looking at the guys. I'm like, I'm hitting the guy. There's one guy, nothing happened. And I'm like, where's this guy? I didn't realize there was a guy on top of the freaking little building stand thing up there. There was a guy. So I was like, oh, this is a guy I got to go kill. Okay. Took me like 5 minutes to figure it out. I'm like, where is this guy that I got to kill? Everybody's just standing around looking at me. I'm like, what am I doing wrong?
You're picking on another guy, and the other guy that you're supposed to be killing is right in front of you.
Yeah.
Paul's taking notes.
Yes. Okay, so any new games you want to discuss, Hugh? Because we know you're way further along in this game than we are.
No, not really. I did take a few minutes today to start playing Skyrim VR. I managed to get about 10 minutes into it before I started feeling motion sick and stopped. Finally, I'm stopping when I start to feel it so that it goes away in like 15 minutes rather than, playing until I get to a save point and then feeling like shit the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's no
so
fun.
I didn't really get too far into it. And of course, I've played Skyrim 4 different times on different devices. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get all the way through this again. But I'll tell you, it's immersive. I did get to fire a bow because there's a little setup, like not even a prologue, just it gets you used to the controls, and then it puts you into what everyone's used to, where you start in the wagon and you're a prisoner. So I got to like fire a bow, and you're really going like this. I mean, pull the trigger to notch the arrow, aim. I mean, it's pretty fucking cool.
That's awesome.
And it's accurate. It's really accurate. Now I feel like I think about all the people I killed in Skyrim, and I'm thinking, man, this is going to be really tiring. But I'm going to give it a shot. The movement's a little weird, and I'm kind of scared of my first fight with a dragon. But we'll see how it goes.
Right. You're gonna wear yourself out. You're gonna sweat through some clothes on that. I'm thinking.
Maybe.
But guys, what's got you geeked?
I'll tell you. I found the Cocoa Pebbles creamer.
Yeah.
And I decided, what do kids do when they have Fruity Pebbles and Cocoa Pebbles?
They mix them.
They mix them together.
And it's not
sweet
horrible.
Chocolate and lemon. This is strange, but I love it.
You said chocolate and lemon? Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, it's a Fruity Pebbles have a very lemon forward flavor,
Yeah.
Very citrus. So, but yeah, it's good. I like it. No, what's got me geeked is something I discovered last week, and I should have talked about it then. I'm going to give a huge shout out to a relatively new local restaurant we have here near me on Erie Boulevard. It's called Mi Casa Grande. And if you know where HK Chinese Takeout is, that's like an institution in the city, which it shouldn't be because their food isn't that good. But not across the street, like on the other side of Erie Boulevard, but across the side street next to them. They knocked down an old Korean grocery store and they built a little place there. And I noticed it when we were coming back from somewhere, from Avery's therapy appointment, I think, or something, which is further downtown. And I'd seen it before that they were building something, but I saw it's open now. I'm like, oh, what's that? I look it up and immediately was interested. It's a Latin American, or not Latin American. It's a Latin. Yeah, I guess it's Latin America. Yeah, so it's Latin American food. I'm stupid. It's I was thinking Latin fused with American food, but no, it's Latin American. Looked up their menu, was really surprised by what we saw. Now they've got an interesting setup. There's a medium combo meal for $10, large for 13, and they have selections of meats and rices, which I'll get into in a second. But then I saw they had mofongo, and that's what really caught our eye because when my wife's had mofongo several times because she's been to Puerto Rico a few times, and when we went down to Puerto Rico a few years ago, she was excited to have me try it. Now mofongo is basically fried plantains mashed with like garlic and salt and spices, and it's almost like mashed plantain basically, and down there they form it around some sort of meat. Here they just serve it with it. So we were really wow, mofongo, never seen that on a menu here before. Also noticed they had empanadas, and every year at Taste of Syracuse we always want to get empanadas from what's that place over in the music court, Las Delicias, and we're always, my wife's always like, oh, I love the empanadas. And I noticed they had tamales, which again is something, my wife knows how to make. She's tried to make to varying degrees of success, but I had never had an actual real tamale ever. We don't find them out places, and the few places we have, she's tasted it and she's like, that's not what they tasted like in Puerto Rico. So I'm like, we're going to go down there and try this shit. So I go down there, get a couple empanadas, a couple tamales, a couple combo meals, and brought it back home, and it was fucking delicious. So good. We got basically, I didn't eat today. I ate one meal. I had a couple pretzel chips for lunch, and we got Mikasa Grande and had that for dinner while we watched WandaVision. And the food is amazing. Okay. The empanadas, first of all, I hate to say this, but I mean, they make Las Delicias empanadas look like Hot Pockets. Okay. They're also the size of my head. They're fucking huge. Like just the pocket of the meat and cheese and everything was as big as Las Delicias' entire empanada. Because empanada has a pocket, and then there's like the flat part where it's sealed and it's all crispy. Yeah, it's just the meat pocket was as big as their whole empanada. Moving on to the tamales, my wife was floored. She's like, "This is the best tamale I've ever had." And I, for the first time having a tamale, I was like, "This is really freaking good." From there, the mofongo was authentic and it was good. I wasn't really a huge fan of it in Puerto Rico. I shouldn't say that. It was all right. I was just like, this is good. Glad I tried it. Glad I didn't order it. But the mofongo it tasted authentic, just like what we had in Puerto Rico. The big thing is the combo meals. Now they start off, they got big styrofoam boxes, and they have white rice, Cuban rice, which has black beans in it, a Mexican rice, which is yellow rice with vegetables, and then yellow rice with pigeon peas, which is, common in Latin American food. They start off by scooping a ridiculous amount of rice into this thing. I'm talking like 4 scoops, like the big part of the tray, you have the big one at the bottom. Yep. It's heaping over. That's probably like 5 or 6 servings of rice if you split it up among people who are eating rice. It's ridiculous. Then you can get red beans on top of those. They have red beans and sauce and just put it right over there. Right there. I mean, you have me right there. Rice with red beans over it. That's a meal. Move on to the meats. They've got fried chicken. They've got Atlantic cod, fried pork chops, beef stew, chicken stew, beef barbacoa, which is good. It's slow cooked beef. They have something called pernil, which is roast pork, which is something I've made before, and it's amazing. It's basically slow roasted pork, and it's juicy, and it's got so much flavor with the spices they put in it. They also do fried pork. Now, this isn't the fried pork chop, and I don't know if this is cut up pieces of pork chop or what, but it's chunks of pork, and it's not breaded and fried. It's just seasoned and fried. So the pork is naked, but because there's no coating, all of the fat on that gets melty. And you know the kind of fat I'm talking about. You know how you get 1 out of every 15 pork chops has that like perfect melty fat? Oh, it is so good. And they just pile it in there. You get 2 meats with the large, 1 with the medium, and then you still get a salad on the side with a decent Italian dressing. Yeah. I mean, it's $13, but I mean, it's 2 meals for me, 3 meals for her. And the food is fucking amazing. So if you have the opportunity, they're open 7 days a week. They're open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. right there on Erie Boulevard, right near Price Right and all that,
Gotcha.
right across the street. Check it out, Mi Casa Grande. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. The place is clean. It's spotless in there. The only thing you might run into is first time I went, the girl behind the counter was knowledgeable and helpful and very good. Tonight I went there and the girl was nice, but it was a different girl. But it almost seemed like it was her first day. Either she couldn't understand what I was saying or she didn't really know what was going on. I actually had to tell her, oh, by the way, I'm supposed to get salad with this. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd like red beans on that. Red beans. She was confused. I think she might have been new. But they're trying. It's a brand new locally owned place, and please try it out. They deserve your money.
And we will definitely link to that in the show notes.
Definitely.
You should be getting that for lunch, Paul. You're right there downtown. You could jet over.
Not very
and
often
grab it.
anymore, but yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
All right, my what's got me geeked is real quick. News finally came out. Mandalorian season 3 starts filming in April, which means we will probably see it January 2022.
Nice.
All right. Corbs, you got time to do yours before we go to break?
Yeah. Mine's gonna be real short too. My thing's got me geeked is Godzilla versus Kong trailer.
Oh, yes.
Cannot
wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either. That's gonna be a definite must see. That's one of those things I think you got to see on the big screen now.
Yeah.
Well, you might not have a choice.
If you can.
Yeah.
If you can.
Right. I'd like to see it on the big screen, but most likely it'll probably be on my marginally large screen in my living room.
Yeah, true. Me too. So,
but yeah, that'll be a huge topic of discussion. I'd probably say right around the end of March when that releases. Yep. I believe that's March 30th now. They just pushed it back a week.
Probably, yeah. So.
But like I said, we'll come back to that in a little over a month. And right now
we're going to come back to this in a little over 5 minutes.
That was great.
Very good.
Stay tuned, folks. All right, done recording. I'm sitting here watching us count down. I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, I've just got to run upstairs and take a leak quick, and we can get right back at it.
All right, thanks for sharing.
Hey, not a problem.
The 4th annual Sci-Fi Horror Fest returns in 2021 with an all-new location. This family-friendly event will have new celebrity guests, new activities and attractions, as well as a diverse selection of vendors, ranging from horror and sci-fi merchandise, artists and authors, tattoo artists, podcasts, as well as unique vendors like breweries and wineries. Sci-Fi Horror Fest will be held on August 27th and 28th at the Vernon Downs Casino and Hotel in Vernon, New York. Guest announcements will begin after the new year. For all up-to-date information, including tickets, vendor space, and sponsorship packages, go to www.sci-fi-horrorfest.com. Please note, dates of event are subject to change due to any lasting issues due to COVID-19.
Hold on. Might as well leave that in too.
We're back.
Oh, are we? Fantastic. All right, let's do the news. First up in Corbs, this is for you. Cloverfield of Dreams. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Joe Barton, he's the showrunner of it. The HBO Max upcoming Gotham City show has been tapped to write Cloverfield 2. This is going to be a direct sequel to the original movie, not a
nice
kind of spin-off in the same universe like the other few movies of the Cloverfield Paradox and Cloverfield Lane. So this is going to be a direct sequel. No information on if there's any returning characters or, exactly where this picks up. But it is nice that, even though this isn't a huge, big movie franchise we hear about a lot, it's still going strong. I mean, when they had the surprise Netflix movie come out, I kind of thought, well, this is probably the end of it. But no, apparently it's still doing good. Next up, Pereira Mun 2021. I am so excited about this. G4 has confirmed that both X-Play and Attack of the Show are returning this summer. Now, Paul's got a smile on his face because he knows what I'm talking about.
Yes.
X-Play was hosted by Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb and mostly covered video game type stuff. Attack of the Show was a live pop culture news show, and it had lots of hosts over the years. Some of the big ones were Kevin Pereira, Olivia Munn, and Sarah Jean Underwood. I think she was also a Playboy playmate or something.
She is, yep.
Yeah. But I used to watch this religiously. Attack of the Show every single night.
Loved it.
It was, yeah. And it was like the only real good thing about G4. You know, I mean, X-Play was okay. Yeah, it was good. I like Adam Sessler. He's a little irritating, but Attack of the Show was fucking great. And I'm so happy to hear
Hardwick
back.
Also from Attack of the Show originally?
He did stuff on there.
Yeah.
He would show up. I don't know. I mean, I started watching like the last 2 years it was on. So I think that I missed a lot of the earlier hosts. Like I know that Olivia Munn wasn't there to begin with. It was someone named Blair, I think.
Yes, Blair something. I remember her too.
Yeah, I think I saw her briefly, and I really liked her, and I was pissed off when Olivia Munn started. But then I kind of grew to like her too. But Kevin Pereira is great. I've even listened to a couple episodes of his podcast, and he's just, I don't know, he's like the most laid back. He's like stoned but not stupid 24/7. The guy's great. Finally, these are the stamps you were looking for. No details on price or date yet, but the USPS is releasing 10 new stamps featuring the droids of Star Wars. Now, I don't know if they're doing this because they need us geeks to prop them up after having all, you know, the funding and all the attacks on the institution. But I know that's something you'll probably have in your office, Paul. You'll probably frame them. That's something I'll go, hey, that's neat, and forget about it. Don't know about you, Corbs. Do you send letters?
No.
Okay. You probably don't want to send a letter with these anyway, but it's kind of nice they're making the gesture. This is actually supposed to be a show of support from Disney and their connections with STEM, you know, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics.
Yep.
Because droids are technology.
My son's in that program, or was in that program when he was in school. So
yeah, Disney is a big supporter of that. So that's part of the impetus behind this is. You know, showing the partnership with STEM. I wasn't able to determine if they're actually giving money to STEM. It just said, hey, we're making some stamps on a property we purchased for a lot of money because we have a partnership with another company. I don't know. It was kind of vague. But I'm going to go with, you know, maybe they're getting some money out of that. But that's the news, kids. Now it's time to go spend my daughter's college fund on Nokia stock. Paul?
And we'll roll right into it from there. Who's got Robinhood on their mobile phones? No, I didn't figure any of us. Dr. Hugh, you want to set us off on this?
Oh, I would absolutely love to. And no, I don't have Robinhood because it's a bullshit app. I did attempt to use it, but I couldn't. I'm personally using Cash App, which has worked well for me so far. But there's been something going on. Corbs, are you familiar with the game stonks phenomenon at all? Okay. Do you understand it?
I know that some hedge funds were buying the stock when it was low or whatever, or something like that, and they were trying to like flood the market with it. I only caught a little bit of it, but not too much.
Let me explain this to you. So they were trying to do what's called short the stock. Now, I am not a financial advisor. I can only tell you what I understand. This is complicated. But what they were doing is they were borrowing the stock from somebody else at a higher price. They would sell it to other people at a higher price. And there's a contract at a certain date. They have to pay for those stocks. They have to cover the short. What they're hoping is that if they buy at 10, they sell it at 10, but then it drops to 5. When they pay it back to the original person or whatever, they only have to pay back the market price. So the idea is that, you know, they make money. They give back, you know, $5 and they get to keep the other $5. So they made $5 on each stock. So what this does when they short a stock like this, they basically get together, they target a company that's probably struggling financially. And when they do this, this can put a company under. This can destroy it. You know, I mean, you're basically devaluing the company artificially to make a couple bucks here and there. Well, some people noticed that GameStop stock had been shorted. And, you know, GameStop, you know, it's an institution. You know, especially if you think, Electronics Boutique was rolled into GameStop. You know, they all have the same DNA, and that's what I remember.
Oh, I remember too.
So I mean, by virtue of that, this company has been a part of me since childhood, and we all feel like that. And of course, the current generation, that's where they're getting their games. You know, GameStop's a big deal, and they saw this. I mean, GameStop's been struggling; they've been closing stores, and here comes along Melvin Capital, looking to make some money and destroy what's left of the company, put people out of jobs. And they said, "Fuck that!" And they, as they put it, they weaponized their autism. Is the phrase they use, not mine, and began buying shares of GameStop like crazy. Now, what happens is when more people buy a stock, the value of it goes up.
Right.
Now, let's say you're back in that position that we talked about. You sold it at $10. Well, now you need to give the stock back, which means you have. But what you do is you have to buy it back from the people you sold it to at market price and give it back to the original owner. Well, if the market has gone from 10 to 15, you're now losing $5 on every stock.
Right.
The issue here is this stock has been as low as I think $11 over the past few months.
Mhm.
And over the past week, it's gone as high as like $470 a share.
Yes.
So these people who did this, they were getting in at $11 a share, at
Right.
$15 a share, $20 a share. But what they did is there's a Reddit community called Wall Street Bets. And what they did is they got everybody in on this, everybody there, buy stocks, and, buy GME. That's what they've been doing. And now the Reddit community owns so much of GameStop that it basically, this Melvin Capital company is losing $1 billion for every $11 the share goes up.
Nice.
So think about that. Up to like, $470 from, 11 or $15.
Right.
How many billions they lost? This is potentially could put people out of business. Now, that's great for them. I mean, there are people who have made like $9 billion on this. Okay. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm sorry. There were 9 people that made $1 billion together on it. But people, yeah, they dump their savings into it, and they're getting back $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 on this if they sell. But what Reddit did is they said, you know what? We're not going to sell. We're going to hold on to it. Our hands are made of diamond, meaning that they hold on to the stock, because potentially they can drive this stock up to whatever price they want. As long as nobody sells, the sky's the limit. And that's
Right.
what's got Wall Street scared, because basically what they've been doing for years, which is perfectly legal, when the general public starts to do it, they start screaming and having a fit. Now, if you notice what's happened in the news over the week, there's been a lot of manipulation. Robinhood and other companies started restricting sales of stock, which AOC had a Twitch last night, basically coming out and saying this is wrong. This is what you guys do all the time. It's wrong when the general public does it. It's okay for you to steal money, but it's not okay for people to use the same tools. It's also illegal. Robinhood has been found selling shares of people's stock without telling them. There's a bunch of shit. They've been using something called a ladder or a short ladder to try to devalue the stock right before closing. And what that is 2 firms collude to do this, and they start selling back and forth, selling the same stock back and forth. But what they're doing is they're selling fractions of that stock, like pennies on it. But the algorithm that Wall Street uses only sees a flurry of activity. And when people start selling like crazy, that means the stock value goes down. So what's happening is stock gets up to 470. All right. Right before closing, it drops $185. Overnight trading goes right back up because those are showing the real numbers. So what they're doing is they're manipulating it. They're trying to show a low closing number to scare people into selling. But once they close, you can see the aftermarket price it pops back up because that's the real price. So what we're seeing is manipulation by Wall Street. We're seeing manipulation by the brokerage companies. It's insane. There are class action lawsuits being thrown around like crazy. And I think the bottom line is there's nothing illegal about this. Okay, Wall Street Bets has grown to a community of 6.2 million people as of today.
Wow.
It might be the biggest Reddit community there is. I don't know. But, I mean, that's what they're saying. 6.2 million of us, even if we all one share of stock, that's huge. And it's awful because we're actually seeing the news outlets have come on several times. Today, they did it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They did it today, come out saying Melvin Capital has covered their close or whatever the term is for saying that they got what they needed. If they did that, then the stock price would drop. But even the news media has reported that they've closed, but they still haven't. So the news media is contributing to this manipulation of this stock just because Wall Street is losing money.
That's insane.
So it's insane. The fact that the media is in on it as well, to some degree. I can't imagine why else they'd be doing that unless they're really being duped. They're supposed to be smart and investigative and figure this shit out. Now you've got a lot of lawmakers, who are on the side of the Redditors all over the place. Not just AOC. I think Mitt Romney said something, and a bunch of other, lesser known ones. It really seems like momentum is on the side of Reddit. And I can't afford to buy GameStop. I wish I had been paying attention because, even a week ago I could have gone in on this.
Right.
But the next two stocks that they're looking to do this to and starting to invest like this in.
Blockbuster's one of them.
Yeah, well, no, BlackBerry, not Blockbuster.
Somebody said Blockbuster was one of them too.
Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore.
No, there's still one out there.
I know they closed. They had to sell everything.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I thought you told me about that, Paul. Didn't they finally shut that down?
No,
they turned it into a bed and breakfast.
Oh, maybe.
But it's still considered. It still says Blockbuster Video on it. But
well, one of the trade companies is BB, which is BlackBerry. That's one of the ones they're pushing.
Okay, so maybe that was what they thought. Maybe it was Blockbuster was BB.
But no, AMC and Nokia. So I went and I bought a share in AMC. I bought a couple in Nokia. It wasn't much. I spent $20 on each. Just to say I'm part of this thing in history. This isn't going to go on forever. The SEC is probably going to step in and stop this from happening because they can't have regular people taking advantage of the stock market like they do. That can't be allowed. They're going to find a way.
We can't all play in the same playground.
Yeah, it can't be level field. They'll find a way to stop it, but right now is a good time. I mean, with money, it doesn't matter if you lose. Okay, I spent $40. I'm not going to lose my house over $40. See where it goes. AMC and Nokia aren't going to go up as high as GameStop probably. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime type thing, but they could go up significantly. I'm hoping to get enough to pay off my PSVR.
There you go.
I'd be happy. But yeah, I mean that's what's going on. It's been an absolute crazy week, and this is contributing. Crypto is going back up as well. Crypto has had a good week. Financially, it's been good for the regular people, and it's been bad for the people that do it for a living. So.
Right, people finally caught on to these people that are taking advantage of all this stuff. And like you're saying, all the hedge funds companies and these people they've been doing it for years, and the American people finally caught on there, and they're going, "Oh, wait a minute, you guys can't do that."
Yeah.
So why can't I not do it, but you can do it, and you can say it's legal, but when I do it, it's not legal. So
yeah, it's actually legal for all of us to do it, and
right.
They're doing some illegal and unconstitutional things to try to stop it. I guess the big takeaway from this is if they really hold their stock, I don't think that anything can really be done. I mean, this may be a watershed moment. This may be something that's looked back on, in history, and it's going to be a group of 6.2 million message board people who refer to making money as tendies and call themselves and each other retards all the time. That's their word, not mine. Just so you all know, they pretty much sign off everything with, but I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a retard like you guys. Every single post.
Yep.
So it's definitely not politically correct. But I don't know. I mean, things are definitely going to change. Will they change for the better, or will they, the rich find new tricks to just?
But I was going to say the exact same thing. They'll find some other way to manipulate the system. Yeah,
but how cool is it that the regular people are doing this right now? And GameStop, holy crap, they're a Fortune 500 company right now. I mean, they were going bankrupt and everything. They're now a Fortune 500 company. I think they're like 497 or 496 on the list. That's nothing's changed for them. They're not selling any more or less. It's all the Redditors doing this. That's amazing that we can have that kind of power to do something crazy like that. I saw a meme that said, GameStop at their first meeting of Fortune 500 members, and it was a bunch of people in suits and then Big Bird sitting at the side of the table.
All right. This just in, by the way, we just got a new report. The top 5 richest people. Okay. It's number 1, Elon Musk. Number 2, Jeff Bezos. Number 3, Bill Gates. Number 4, Bernard Arnault. And there's a new player on this list. Hugh, you ready for this one?
Yep.
Number 5 is Retard 6969.
Oh. Of course, there goes, back when I said, hey, we can never use that word on the air.
Right. And now we've used it multiple times in one episode.
But in all fairness, it's all from other sources.
Yes, these are not our words.
Yeah.
I mean, they're coming out of our mouths, but they're not our words. We don't claim responsibility for anything we say anyway, so.
That's true.
But yeah, it's, I don't know. Paul, you got any money in stocks?
No, not until later.
You mean after the show?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm-
I can't. All I can say is, I think AMC is going to go up. Nokia, I discovered, actually is one of the 3 top infrastructure builders of electronics, which is amazing that their stock has been down, $3-4 a share. It's up to 6 something now. But I think that we probably have enough time for 2 more of these to really get big. I mean, you're not going to make as much on these again because they haven't been shorted as much. The big thing with GameStop is that they actually borrowed more than 100% of the existing stock somehow. Nobody knows how they did that. So right now, it's impossible for them to cover their shorts because they have to cover 120% of the existing stock.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which, it isn't actually possible, especially if nobody's willing to sell to them. And that's the thing. They're going to have to buy these at whatever, at the higher price in order to, it's insane. I've droned on long enough about it. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just like you.
So what app do you use for?
I'm using Cash App only because other than my 401k, I haven't played around with this in years. So I'm only getting back into it, and I was looking to quickly be able to pick something up. At first, I tried Robinhood before they pulled all their shady shit, and I couldn't get it to verify my my bank account. And I tried verifying my my PayPal, and it wasn't working. And I'm like, fuck this. And I looked for the next one, and Cash App would. I was able to get signed right up and make my purchases. So I mean, it seems like a pretty good app. There may be better ones out there. Certainly, do some research. But I mean, I think the important thing right now is if you want in on this, get something and get some. And then you can move stuff around later on if you need to. Or is it that big of a deal if your first few shares of something are on one app and everything else is on another once you figure out what you want to do? I mean, this is a time sensitive thing. If you don't grab this stuff when it's cheap, you're not going to make any money.
Right.
I just want to be part of it, just to be part of it, regardless.
I wish I could be part of the GameStop part. Well, I mean, you could always buy a share. I mean, you could probably pick one up for Monday morning for $190-200, one share of GameStop. It's going to go back up to $300-400. Well, they're saying that they're going to hold until it hits $10,000.
Yikes!
We'll see if that's actually possible. But I'm fairly certain that even buying it now when it drops, it's probably still good. The problem is it goes up so quickly that you've got to buy it at the right time.
Yeah.
So usually just after open, from what I'm seeing, or in the afternoon right before close is when it's going to get the lowest.
Well, there you have it. The one and only time in history that you're going to get stock advice on GeekPod.
You don't know that. You can't possibly know that.
It's a pretty safe bet, I'd say.
Hey, it's becoming a hobby of mine, so you never know.
Oh, that's true.
And the weird part about it is just before the pandemic hit, I was talking to my father about starting to learn how to invest in stuff like that. And like you said, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Obviously, we all missed it because we weren't paying attention. But like you said, you're kind of getting into it. It's getting to be a little bit hobby. I want to get into it too. So I've been kind of, looking at a few things. I found a few things, but when the pandemic hit, I kind of stopped. So I kind of got to get back into looking at a few things. I mean, if I come across something that I think might be worth looking into, I'll let you guys know.
Very cool.
I got a few people that I talked to about it. My uncle is one guy that will talk to a lot about it. He invested in stuff when he was younger. He owns Fayetteville Dodge, the company. His sons now run the day-to-day business. He doesn't. He just sits in his house at his computer and watches everything. He goes in the office once in a while. They own Fayetteville Dodge. They own Jeep Chrysler Cortland. So, but he's invested. He's got a few things he's investing into. What are you looking at me like that for?
Because that's where Kristen leased her Jeep from.
Down in Cortland?
Yeah, that's where they sent her because she originally went out to Fayetteville and they said, no, you want to go out to the one in Cortland. Yeah,
that's my uncle's place. My 3 cousins run it. Robbie and Ryan run the one here in Fayetteville, and Jeff runs the one in Cortland.
Information that would have been useful before you went and got the car, huh?
Right. Would have been better to know about a year ago.
Yeah. So but yeah, so my uncle is he's the guy that I talked to. My cousin used to be really good before the whole failure. He worked for Merrill Lynch for a number of years, and he was a genius in picking stocks. And I never really. Now we're talking when I was in my 20s, and you don't think of shit like that when you're in your 20s. You're not thinking of, putting money aside for your, for yourself in 20 years or whatever. But he picked a bunch of stocks at that time that took off, and I never even thought about getting in on any of that stuff. So he would be another kid I would talk to, another guy I would talk to. I say kid, he's my age. So, but if I find something, if I come across something or whatever, I'll fill you guys in. So,
yeah, we'll make a new segment for you. We'll call it Geek Stomps.
There you go.
Hold on.
Dude, you have a computer right in front of you, do you not?
Yeah, but you can actually hear the tickety.
You know how to type, right?
Man, and here I thought Cloverfield of Dreams was going to end up being the one you wrote down.
The list is already 4 long, and that is not on there.
Nice.
But since we're referencing movies, Corbs, you want to jump into the classic movie review?
Sure, why not? I guess if I have to, right? All right. So I was told that my movie reviews weren't the best. They were kind of not really reviews, as more of a recap.
Who told you that?
Well, we won't go into that, Laura.
Perfect.
So we're going to try something a little different today.
All right.
So I got some advice from a good dear friend of mine who will remain nameless, Paul. Yeah. So the movie I'm going to do is Major League. I do it because it's getting close to time when pitchers and catchers report for baseball. So Major League, released in 1989, starred Charlie Sheen, Tom Berenger, Wesley Snipes, and Rene Russo. It's a baseball movie about the Cleveland Indians. It's a fictional movie about it because obviously they still haven't won the World Series. But Cleveland is like, they're the lovable losers of Major League Baseball. Pardon me, my chain is all fucked up. They get a new owner. She's got a pretty good deal to move the team from cold weather Cleveland to sunny Miami if she can break the team's lease with the city. She has to drop attendance below a certain number. I can't remember the number off. I think it's like 800,000 or whatever it might be, 80,000 or whatever it might be, but a certain number. So she hires the most incompetent group of players, either past their prime or never had a prime. These are guys that you don't know, or they're way older. And there's a funny scene. There's a funny part in this movie right here when she hands the list out to the board of directors or whatever, the board. And the guy looks at the list and he goes, "This guy here is dead." And she goes, "Go cross him off then." Meaning, like, this is the list of players I want. He's not there, then just cross him off. We'll get somebody else. So some of the players that they sign or hire, whatever you want to call it, it's an almost blind criminal in Rick Vaughn, played by Charlie Sheen, a well past his prime, often injured catcher, Jake Taylor, played by Tom Berenger, and a never heard of Willie Hayes, better known as Willie Mays Hayes, played by, at that time, I didn't realize it, his 4th movie he was ever in, Wesley Snipes. So it starts out, Rachel Phelps is the owner. She wants the team to lose. So she takes away everything, takes away the jet, takes away their bus that they travel on. She replaces it with old beat up equipment, doesn't replace any of the pipes, doesn't replace any of the equipment or anything like that, hoping that it will lower the players' expectations and they won't play better. They'll just not give a shit and play like crap. Well, her villainous ways and treatment of the players turns against her, and they band together and begin to play better and become potential winners. So that's kind of the gist of the movie. I mean, I don't really want to get into too much of stuff, but there are some pretty good funny moments and funny lines in the movie. I think if you've seen it, you know some of the lines. Some of the best ones are when Rick Vaughn first comes into his first pitching appearance, and he throws the first pitch, and it hits the backstop. And Bob Uecker, who's the Harry Doyle, the announcer, goes, "Just a bit outside." And he goes, "Vaughn tried the corner and missed. Ball 4, ball 8." And you see in between, you see him throw a pitch outside, low, in the dirt or whatever. And he goes, "Oh, ball 12." And Vaughn has walked the bases loaded. And then after they show there's 3 guys that got they're in Indian outfits and they're beating drums and they're singing the song "Wild Thing." And that's what he gets nicknamed Wild Thing. That's one of the funny moments in there. What is the other one? The other one I like is when they're in spring training and Eddie Harris is the pitcher, is talking with Pedro Serrano, and they're talking about Pedro's religion. He worships voodoo. And he says something to the fact, "Oh, Jesus, I like him very much, but hit a curveball." And Harris says, "What are you saying, Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?" So they're all talking, "Oh, let's not start a holy war." And then Eddie Harris says to him, "Oh, you might not want to leave that rum sitting around here with this group," meaning that they're going to steal it or somebody's going to drink it on him if he leaves it sitting around. And Serrano gets up and says, it's, in that deep voodoo style voice, like, "It's very bad to steal Joe Boo's rum. It is very bad." And it kind of walks away. And Harris is kind of like, what am I supposed to do? Type of thing. And then it cuts. And obviously you have the whole spring training. Another good scene is where Wesley Snipes, they take him out in the middle of the night because he wasn't invited to spring training.
Yes.
They put his bed outside the thing, and their gun is going off for them to run sprints. And he wakes up and he goes, "Shit, I got cut already?" Like he hadn't done anything and he already got cut. And then it cuts to a scene where he's running with the 2 guys that already started, and he outruns them. Well, I mean, he's obviously very fast, so they sign him to a contract type of thing. Another scene is when Eddie Harris is the pitcher and Rick Vaughn are sitting in the clubhouse, and Harris pulls off his shirt and he's got Crisco on his shoulder. He's got a bunch of other stuff, and he's like, "What's that shit on your shoulder?" He's like, "Oh, it's Crisco." And he's like, "Oh, this," he reaches down under his belt and goes, "Vagisil," and he's like, "Vaseline." He goes, any other, any of this stuff will put another 2 to 3 inches drop on your curveball. And he looked at him and goes, you put, something like that. He goes, "Those don't have an arm like you do." He goes, "So if umpire watches me real close, what I'll do is I'll take a little jalapeno and get inside and get it running. And if I need to load the ball up, I'll just wipe my nose." And he goes, "You put snot on the ball?" And he goes, "Yeah, I don't have an arm like you do, kid." Saying like, "I used to be like you, 20 years ago. Now I got to do everything I can to get the ball over the plate." Funny movie. For me, it's a great movie. It's my mother's absolute favorite baseball movie of all times. When it's on, she watches it religiously. I have it DVR now for her, so she can watch it whenever she wants. But the best part about the DVR is it's got all the swearing in it.
Perfect.
It's not on AMC.
It's not the TV censored one.
Yeah, not the TV censored. When it was on, I want to say IFC.
Nice.
IFC has all the swearing, all the nudity, and all that stuff. They cut out a few things, but not too much. That movie, you can't watch it without the swearing in it. That makes the movie.
Oh, it sells the jokes.
Yeah, it sells the jokes. So for me, I'm going to give it. I'll give it 4 stars, 4 out of 5 stars. It could be better. I mean, obviously, they could show a little bit more towards the end. How do they do in the playoffs? They make the playoffs. How do they do? Type of thing. They don't get into that. They get into that into the next the sequel, which there are 2 sequels. Major League 2, which is pretty good, and then Major League Back to the Minors, which is really bad.
That was basically one that was a straight to cable one. Yeah. Yeah,
straight to video, and then they burnt that video.
They should have. Yes.
Yeah. But I did read they're talking about doing a 3rd one with all the guys coming back: Snipes, Behringer, Charlie.
That would be cool.
Sheen. They're talking about and just ignoring Major League 3 back to the minors, just ignoring that one completely. Now it's been in the works for 10 years. As of 2015, it was still in the works, but they haven't there's been no.
They were waiting for Wesley Snipes to get out of jail.
Right.
Could very well be. And like I said, this was his fourth movie, and then he didn't come back for the sequel. He decided to concentrate on something else. And then
I'm sure he'd come back for this one.
Right.
I'm sure he would too. So, yeah. So for me, it's a 4 out of 5 stars. So
Nice. Now, I'm gonna read the review before we go into our next break, and I actually couldn't find one from Ebert. He wouldn't even touch this at the time, so I had to go for Dave Cares from the Chicago Tribune. And title is Major League Knows When to Throw Right Pitches. He gives it 3 stars. He says, last summer's unlikely boom in baseball movies resumes this year with David Ward's Major League, a film that is neither as cloyingly sentimental as 8 Men Out, nor as engagingly eccentric as Bull Durham. It's a slick, functional piece of entertainment put together rather too professionally from predictable plot situations, familiar characters, and crowd-pleasing climaxes. Those are my favorite kind. The team of Major League, which uses the name, uniforms, and stadium of the Cleveland Indians, is composed of a group of lovable losers who seem ideal for a TV sitcom. There are Jake Taylor, played by Tom Berenger, the veteran catcher who was a star player until his knees gave out, Ricky Vaughn, played by Charlie Sheen, a fastball pitcher recruited from a prison team who still has to learn something about on and off-field control. And in the key position of likable jerk, Roger Dorn, played by Corbin Burnson, not stretching much from LA Law, the third baseman who is the team's last remaining established talent, but who is waiting out the season to take up a broadcasting career. These men, together with such teammates as a Cuban hitter who practices voodoo, they didn't give his name, really, played by Dennis Haysbert, and a base-stealing outfielder who hustles his way into training camp, played by Wesley Snipes, have been assembled with a purpose to lose as many games as possible. It seems that the team's cynical owner, ex-showgirl, played by Margaret Whitten, freshly widowed by her millionaire husband, wants to move the team to Miami and can break her stadium lease only if annual attendance falls below 800,000. Good job. Under Ward's bright but soulless direction, as a screenwriter, he crafted The Sting. Major League devotes its first half to baseball bloopers and its second to rah-rah action as the team members, finally made wise to their owner's plan, decide to save their pride by winning the pennant. That they're able to get to the playoffs without breaking a visible sweat suggests just how little grit there is in Ward's filmmaking. The personal dramas of Major League seem equally synthetic as Jake is given another chance with a woman of his dreams, played by Renee Russo, who's been taking Michelle Pfeiffer lessons. Ricky gains some quick maturity, and Roger learns to be a team player. The film is just as inspirational as the baseball movies of the 50s, though the language of Ward's script has the benefit of some R-rated color, as it should. Major League is a movie that knows what it's up to. It skims along agreeable services. Jesus Christ. Expertly balancing its comedy with melodrama and fulfilling expectations right on schedule. As a movie, it's a superior industrial product. I really don't like his reviews. He kind of sucks.
I gotta say, your comment on the crowd-pleasing climaxes, I had no idea you had an OnlyFans account.
Oh yeah, I mean, I gotta make money somewhere. Come on.
Wow.
All right, that's Major League, and I like the new format, Corbs.
Very nice.
There he goes. Yes.
Thank you.
And that's gonna send us into our next break. We're gonna come back, and I have a little something I wanna throw at you guys.
I've got a couple movies I want to talk about too. So
perfect. So it's gonna be a whole lot of movie talk tonight.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you back in just a few minutes, folks, and hopefully this time I will actually hit the stop recording button.
The 4th annual Sci-Fi Horror Fest returns in 2021 with an all-new location. This family-friendly event will have new celebrity guests, new activities and attractions, as well as a diverse selection of vendors, ranging from horror and sci-fi merchandise, artists and authors, tattoo artists, podcasts, as well as unique vendors like breweries and wineries. Sci-Fi Horror Fest will be held on August 27th and 28th at the Vernon Downs Casino and Hotel in Vernon, New York. Guest announcements will begin after the new year. For all up-to-date information, including tickets, vendor space, and sponsorship packages, go to www.sci-fi-horrorfest.com. Please note, dates of event are subject to change due to any lasting issues due to COVID-19.
And we're back.
That was riveting.
What are we doing now?
What? So I found something online today, guys, that I wanted to run past you. It was an article from theinsider.com. And it is a list of 10 movies that were beloved movies that have not aged well. Okay. They're saying that
you said beloved movies. Are we talking about a certain genre, a certain era?
a little bit of everything is on this list.
Okay.
And basically the inference was that since these movies have been made, the way culture has gone, there's a whole lot of no-nos in this. And most of these movies I've seen or I'm very familiar with, some not so much. I'm just going to start it right off at the top of the list. They start off with Crash from 2004. Have you guys seen this movie?
I have.
No, I haven't.
Okay. I'm not very familiar with it. They said the film's examination of racial conflict offensively reduces a societal ill to a narrative device. All I know is Matt, whatever the hell his name
Matt
is.
Dillon.
Thank you. Is in it as a cop and something about him and Halle Berry. So I really can't speak
I only
to
saw
this
bits
one.
and pieces of it, so I couldn't really give you any.
Okay, I can't speak to this one. The next one I think we've probably all seen. That's Avatar from 2009. This has been now called out for being racist.
Against
Really?
white people?
So what they say is this movie has a white savior complex, meaning it depicts a leading white character saving people of color from situations they are unable to save themselves from, and naturally the white character who is integrated into the people of color is the most awesome character in the end. You guys agree with that?
It's been so long since I saw that movie. I liked it.
Well, then they're talking about Sam Worthington.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I am really torn on this. I know what white savior complex is, and I agree that it's.
Isn't he disabled too?
In that movie,
movie,
yes, he's crippled.
Right. So isn't that offensive to cripples?
So him being a cripple offsets his whiteness, is what you're saying?
Right? Yeah, it's a wash. Yeah.
It's a wash.
You know, they're correct in that the white savior complex is a thing that has happened throughout movies.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is you can apply that to just about anything just for a character randomly being white. Okay. Not every movie can. I mean, if every movie switched over to having black protagonists, then I mean, it wouldn't be equality or equity either. It would be neither, which apparently this week suddenly, I don't know if you've noticed this, like equity versus equality has become a huge thing. I don't know if we want to talk about that. Anyway, but I mean, that movie didn't come across to me like that because he spends most of the movie blue anyway. But I mean, I suppose if you're gonna look at it, then I guess, the Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom does the same.
Don't get ahead of me.
Oh, it's on the list. I mean, so many. I mean, you could say that about Return of the Jedi and the Ewoks. I mean, for fuck's sake. I mean, I don't.
They're Muppets.
Okay. They speak. They have intelligence. They have conscience. They worship. They are people of colored fur. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that they're wrong, but I'm saying that's a really slippery slope, and you end up applying that to just about anything. Just because the main character happens to be white.
Right. And now you bring up a good point. Isn't it also cultural appropriation? Since, like you said, he spends most of the movie being blue.
Oh, well, yeah, let's just chalk up a list of sins Avatar commits. I'm not even that big of a fan of the movie. I mean, I liked it. I thought
it was cool.
Really
it had great effects. That's about as far as I went with it.
Yeah. I don't know.
When's a new one coming out? Never?
Who knows?
Supposedly
he's
coming.
making like 15 sequels. So
all at once. Yes. Every Navi is going to have their own movie. In the end, is what they're going to do. Next on the list from 1961 is Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Never seen it.
I've never seen it either. Supposedly a classic. I remember they did that song in the 90s about liking it.
Well, my mom, I know my mom's a big fan of Catherine Hepburn, so I'm sure she's seen it. So.
All right. Well, maybe check in with her on this because they say this one's getting lambasted for racist depictions of an Asian character / whitewashing. Mickey Rooney, a white actor, portrayed an Asian character, Mr. Yuniashi, and while in character, Rooney did an exaggerated accent and had his eyelids taped down. I saw a picture of it, and this one, this is fair. It's bad. It's fucking bad. Just from the still I saw. So again, not having seen it, and the best part is that they did a partial clip of an article with him, an interview with him after the fact. And he said it hurt his heart there was such a backlash on this because, when the movie was made, everybody thought it was hilarious. And, Oriental people would come up to him and tell him how funny he was in the part. Yeah. Next up, 16 Candles from 1984. John Hughes movie, huge cult following, right? It has problematic portrayals of rape and racism. First offense. Long Duck Dong, a Chinese foreign exchange student, has been dubbed an offensive, racist character by some critics who have also... The Donger, yeah. Who have also pointed out that every mention of his name is followed by the sound of a gong. An instrument with roots in China.
Not the donger. You can't mess with the donger.
What's happening, hush stuff?
Seriously.
Okay, the next one is a little more serious. Farmer Ted violates an intoxicated young woman who is in no condition to consent. To make it worse, Farmer Ted is egged on to do so by the woman's boyfriend.
I don't know. How is this in the movie?
I don't know that scene. Literally, the only thing I remember about that is Molly Ringwald and the Donger.
Remember Anthony Michael Hall on the table?
So,
yeah, I don't remember that one. I have to watch that movie again. See it now.
Next up, Revenge of the Nerds, 1984.
Well, of course, that's got awful stuff in it.
Questionable stereotypes, homophobia, and rape culture. One of our leading nerds, Lewis, tricks a woman named Becky into having sex with him by stealing her boyfriend's Halloween costume, Darth Vader, and pretending he is the man she is having consensual sex with. And people have pointed out that this is rape by deception. The nerds also sell naked photos of Becky. Isn't that from the selling the pies with the thing?
Yep.
The bottom have the...
Yep.
So, yeah, I'll give him that one. That is cringy now watching it back.
Yeah.
Yep. Next, Lamar. He's written with a lot of overly feminine gay stereotypes that are used to define him and constantly make him the punchline of the joke. I don't remember him being a punchline a lot, but they definitely made it very clear that he was a
very
man.
Clear. He was very feminine.
Oh, and then his floppy javelin. I forgot about that when he was running.
Yeah.
Finally, the Asian character who can barely speak English is present to propagate stereotypes and to be the butt of many jokes. I don't even remember an Asian character in the movie.
He is. He drinks when they're watching the security cameras, and they're talking about seeing Bush or whatever, and he goes, "Oh, carrot pie."
Yes. Okay. Now, yep. Next up. Is already spoiled by Hugh. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, 1984, for racist stereotypes. They don't even mention the white savior complex in this one.
Racist stereotypes?
Racially insensitive scenes, including the one where villagers eat monkey brains and fried bugs, and racial stereotypes that appear consistently throughout the film of Indians. At the time of the film's release, I didn't know this, it was banned in India because the government reportedly found the material to be racist and offensive.
Wow.
Yeah, I did not know that. And I just watched this maybe 6 months ago.
You know, I always got the impression that, they weren't like regular, that not like everyone in India was like that they were like a remote tribe, and that's why they were different. And that's the impression I remember from the movie. It never occurred to me that they were, giving any sort of,
Right.
yeah, that we were being racist. It never occurred to me at all.
Right. I mean, if they really wanted to propagate stereotypes for Indians, wouldn't it be them going out and shitting on train tracks?
Yeah, well, that's a relatively new meme. So
Sorry. Next up, from 1999, American Beauty. Want me to pause, let you guys cringe here now? Questionable sexual politics and sexualization of children. Now, their big problem with this, not Mira Sorvino, who looks like she's 12 bathing in a bath with rose petals, but their big problem is Kevin Spacey and his multiple sexual assault allegations made against him. And these allegations include incidents of sexual misconduct with minors. So everybody has painted this movie with what has come since.
yeah, except he's gay, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not a valid discussion to have, but being that he is gay, I don't think that it's not like he was like, I get to see Mira Sorvino's tits. I mean, I don't. That was actually, I found that a very interesting movie, just because it was so inappropriate, and you got to see a man in the depths of madness and actually pull himself back from it, which when I was watching it, I wasn't sure he was going to. And yeah, it's cringy, but it's supposed to actually kind of.
I think it was meant to be. Yes.
Yeah, that was intentional. It was supposed to make you feel uncomfortable.
But you can't do that. You can't do that in this day and age now. You can't make people uncomfortable with these things. I don't understand why. It's movies. It's not like this is a depiction.
I think that's a sign of a good film, is if it challenges you in a way.
Right, but what I'm getting at is it's not actual real life. It's a make-believe storytelling. Stop looking at all this stuff as it's actually real, because it's not. Now, don't get me wrong. Shit like that happens in real life. I get that part of it. People take these movies and then reenact them in real life. So what are you going to say? You can't make any movies?
Right.
Because some whack job out there is looking at it going, oh, I can do that because they're doing it in this movie.
Well, I'm just waiting for some farmer's kid to jump on a speeder, go to the big city, join the Rebel Alliance, and blow up Death Star. That hasn't happened yet.
That'd be
that's
pretty
next
cool
week.
if it does, though.
I have plans. Yes.
I have plans.
You're a farmer's son?
I can be. I mean, I did grow up in the sticks.
Oh, you can be? Is that your OnlyFans again?
Yes.
No.
Next up, Gone with the Wind, 1939. Their big problem is the portrayal of slavery in the Confederacy. Glossing over the harsh realities of slavery while romanticizing the Confederacy. I don't know why they feel the need to explain this, but the Confederacy is a collection of states in America that fought for the right to continue to own and enslave people in the 1860s. Thanks, history. I mean, wasn't this also, an adaptation of a novel?
It was.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, are we just supposed to, wash everything away from the source material and the time frame?
In all fairness, none of us here know whether that existed in the source material or not. It may have been there, and they may have made it prettier for Hollywood.
There's also that. Yes, you're not wrong on that. We're wrapping the list up here. We got two left, guys. She's All That from 1999. They say it's sexist.
Definitely never seen that.
I have seen that. Not a good movie.
I have too.
Film's main character, Lainey Boggs, played by Rachel Lee Cook, is teased about her personality and looks, and she completely changes both of those things to impress a man, played by Freddie Prinze Jr. This is portrayed as being romantic and cute, but many have pointed out that it is degrading how a man's standard for beauty and his perception of how a woman should behave are at the center of this romance. They said that is very detrimental to the well-being of a young lady, and it's a harmful stereotype.
They're saying that she changes
everything because she goes from the nerdy painter chick to be in a smoke show.
I don't see that.
You
I know the movie, and she does that, but I don't agree with that.
Well, Corbs, what they're saying is that she shouldn't have to change everything about herself for someone to love her. They're saying that's sexist.
Okay.
Yeah. And finally, the most insulting of these 10 to me, Chasing Amy, 1997.
Well, of course. I mean, that's a Kevin Smith movie. There's going to be bad stuff in that all over the place. On purpose, probably.
This list could be full of Kevin Smith movies.
Right? There should be just 10 of them.
And you know the worst part? I have a feeling I know where they're going to go with this. And all of that was because they talked about shit honestly.
No, go ahead. What do you think it's about? Because
is it the portrayal of lesbians in the movie, or is it just because I don't know if I don't think she's actually lesbian in real life, but is that
Joey? No, she's not.
Lesbian going with a guy for a little while.
Right on the nose. Yep. Spreading harmful stereotypes about being gay. They say a lesbian can go straight even if just for a little while, as soon as the right guy comes along. It's a harmful stereotype and not true.
Okay, is that what really happens in the movie, though? Is it that he's the right guy?
No, clearly not, especially if you've seen Jay and Silent Bob Reboot where they revisit them.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not sure if that's outright. I mean, clearly she was probably bisexual, which is more likely. I mean, but they don't have a problem with the whole racist rant at the beginning. That wasn't a problem. Is that because it was by a black man?
Possibly. Man, listen to us, three white guys.
Three white guys judging this. Yes.
Yeah. That's awful.
We are the white saviors. Oh.
God, we couldn't put our feet in our mouth. Man, if we ever really did make it famous with this podcast, we wouldn't
this one will end it for us.
Yeah, either when they start going through the back catalog, we would get canceled immediately.
So that's my list. I found it very interesting. And I've seen other ones of these before too, but I couldn't track any of the other ones down like on short notice.
Yeah.
And you know what? It bothers me because if you take any of these individually, you can enjoy the movies. And before our culture and climate have changed, it probably wasn't a big deal. Some of them, like I said, are super cringy. Like the Mickey Rourke as an Asian guy.
Mickey Rourke?
Oh, no, I'm sure he's got some too. Mickey Rooney, my bad.
Right, but I agree with what you're saying. If you watch these movies and take out the culture and just watch the movie for an enjoyment side, yes, there are some that are cringy. American Beauty is a cringy movie. It's creepy.
Again, but I think by design.
Right, exactly. Why do we have to? Why as a society are we nitpicking everything? Why are we always? You watch a movie and it's like, well, that person is portraying this person in a wrong way. It might not be just that. It might just be the way that it's being. I don't know how to really kind of say it, but what I'm getting at is stop overanalyzing everything. I mean, yes, there are bad things out there and there are bad things going on in the world. I get that. I don't disagree with that. But you got to leave some shit alone and just sit back and enjoy it. There are movies out there that are out there for your enjoyment. It's not out there for you to sit back and go, this person is not being portrayed correctly. The character Long Dong in 16 Candles, he's not being portrayed as a dumb Asian. He's there as the comic relief. That's all it is.
But we're not allowed to have that anymore.
Well, we're not allowed to have a minority be that anymore because traditionally minorities have been comic relief. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things you're getting at. A part of this stems from the worst parts of liberalism, and as a liberal, I recognize that. I think that this is a subject for an entire show. Honestly, if we really want to take a deep dive into it, because you're right. Where to achieve an enlightened society, we have to right wrongs and become better. Part of the problem is we're becoming too mired in what's already transpired, things we cannot change.
Right.
Even as we ourselves are changing, we are creating media that meets our current standards, but everybody's becoming laser focused on shit that happened 20 years ago that at the time didn't seem inappropriate based on where we were as a culture. I don't think that there's no net positive to that if we're already changing. You know,
Agreed.
it's a clickbait article. I mean, I think that if we really want to change the world, we could be focusing our energies in a more positive way to create more change, not bitch about a John Hughes movie from the 80s.
Agreed.
And there is no Shermer in Illinois. Back to you, Hugh.
All right. I wanted to bring up a couple movies I managed to see this week, and they're connected really quickly. First one was called Psycho Gorman, and crazy name. It came up on my radar because I saw some pictures on bloodydisgusting.com of this insane, demonic-looking creature guy. Great practical effects. So I'm like, when this comes out, I got to watch it. Well, it's now out on Shudder and other outlets. And the basic premise is I don't know how long he's been there, but, you know, ages ago, this evil alien warlord that was killing everybody in the universe they managed to, the forces of good got together and managed to stop him, exiled him to a prison on Earth, and also left the one thing in the universe that could completely control him on that particular containment device. And it's discovered by two children, a brother and sister, the sister who is actually legitimately an 8-year-old psychopath. I mean, no shit.
Perfect.
She's fucking hilarious, but she's absolutely crazy. And so basically they unleash this evil demonic monster from another planet with powers, and this 8-year-old psychopath has the device so that he has to do everything that she says. Hilarity ensues. It is some amazing practical effects, and it actually has there's a heart to this movie. There's some great performances, especially by the father, who's just a very interesting character. Worth looking at. I do not want to spoil too much. This is not a review or anything. Just you want to check this movie out. Afterwards, I just looked to see if there was sequel talk, and then I ran across the name of the guy who came up with it, Steven Kostanski, and discovered he had done a movie back in 2016 that had got him accolades and kind of led to him being able to do this, called The Void. Now, as I look into this, I discovered that it's a Lovecraftian movie. Ooh. And I love Lovecraft. The problem is most of the movies are awful and they never stick the landing. I mean, it's like great build up and then it's stupid at the end because Lovecraft never really finished stories. It's like dread, more dread. And then the main character goes crazy at the end. And he's like, I can't explain to you what I saw. It's unexplainable. So you never get a resolution of any kind. So that's a limitation of the stories. And as they try to make movies based on those, that limitation shows because then the writers have to come up with something to end the damn movie. Well, I took a look at this movie and holy shit, this is a rock solid horror movie. Maybe the best Lovecraft movie I've seen. Excellent special effects, again, all practical with, I will tell you, some crazy, like you think about what a Lovecraft monster is and that shit you think in your head, they somehow managed to actually put on screen all with practical effects.
Nice.
No CGI. Wicked impressive. And this is not a big budget movie. The acting was solid. The story was fantastic. Everything made sense. And the ending, while not the most original ending I've ever seen in a movie, it's slightly derivative. It works to end the conflict, which is what Lovecraft movies usually run into. I can't say I'm dissatisfied with the ending of this movie. It all worked. So if you're a horror fan, please go take a look and find The Void. It is, you know, that went in my save hard drive. You know, the movies that I know I will go back and watch because they're that good. And I don't do that with a lot of shit. Okay. I don't have the Marvel movies saved anywhere. I don't have them all on Blu-ray because I don't plan on going back and watching them no matter how much I like them. This one was definitely a rewatch.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's all I had. I watched those Sunday and Monday, I think, and I was just like, wow, I got to talk about these. Now, were we going to cover WandaVision this week, or?
I was just going to ask you that because I watched it right before we started recording.
Did you watch it, Corbs?
I did watch it.
So did I. Then holy crap.
A lot of shit gets connected right there.
Yeah.
In what, like 35 minutes?
I don't even think it was that, because you got to remember there's like 7 minutes of foreign credits on the end of each episode.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
So I believe it was like 26 minutes when I started going forward, and Avery went, "No, Dad, don't bother. It's just the Spanish credits."
What a good episode. The fact that we're seeing returning characters, that was pretty freaking cool. And it was so awesome to see the effects of the return snap. Like, we hadn't seen that yet, and that was so fucking cool.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
And we're gonna see a lot more of Monica.
Yeah, and I think this is now going to tie much more into the universe. Up until this point, it was kind of like, how does this fit into everything? That was huge.
Mm-hmm.
What we just, yeah, I right off the bat and started seeing the people coming back together. I'm like, holy shit! And Avery's like, what's that? And I'm like, shut up.
Right. I did the same thing, but it was to a 43-year-old woman. Kristen has not been following, has hated this show so far. She didn't get it. She was talking to the neighbor. Neighbor also hates it, didn't get the show. I'm like, you guys just, you don't understand. Like, literally, you don't have the Marvel IQ for this show. And then as soon as everything started getting pieced together, I like just give her the smug side eye and like, see. And such a fucking phenomenal show. So smartly written and mapped out. I cannot wait to see where this goes. Like, I mean, from episode 1, I knew this was all Wanda's doing. Like, but I mean, holy shit. Like, when we panned back at the end of the episode and it was dead Vision standing there.
Yeah.
I jumped. I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. So loving this show. Like, this has quickly become one of my favorite things every week.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I can't wait to see. And I love how this episode tied everything together. The beekeeper man, the helicopter, that's so good. So fucking good.
Yeah. It was I enjoyed it. And like you said, it was nice. It was cool seeing the effects of the snapback. That was pretty cool at the beginning. I was like, wow, that's at least they kind of tied some of that in, so you understood what kind of was going on with all that stuff.
And it was a quick, easy way to give her origin story.
Yeah.
And to tie it into Captain Marvel and soon to be Captain Marvel 2, because that her story is going to pick up there. So it's phenomenal. Liking it way better than I expected I was going to now. It was fun leading up to this, but now it was holy shit.
Yeah, we're in for a ride.
Yeah. Did you guys read anything good this week?
Didn't read anything, no. Did want to say, are any of you watching The Stand?
No, that's on CBS All Access, right?
Correct.
No.
Correct. Okay. I think I might have mentioned a few weeks ago, people were mad because it started off with flashbacks and it was confusing storytelling. That only lasted a few episodes. It's gotten really good. First of all, this is, I now think, superior to the original Stand miniseries.
Nice.
By far, because it has more room to breathe. The story is much better. Also, I had a realization the other night. I wonder if Stephen King realizes that he's effectively immortal. They're going to remake this every 30 years, every generation. You're going to have a version of The Stand. They've already done The Shining twice. Once as a movie, once as a miniseries.
Yep.
So many of the movies, Pet Sematary has been remade. They're working on Salem's Lot. 100 years from now, they're 100 years from now, they're going to go back and say, oh, horror writers of the last few the great horror writers, Mary Shelley, Bram Stoker, Stephen King. His shit is going to be on our TV and movie screens for all time. Although I'm thinking to myself, man, imagine what that shit's going to look like with, the updated society, because that's what they do. They move the story into the present time. It's going to be definitely interesting. But man, does that man realize just, how big he is?
Probably not. He seems like kind of a humble guy.
Yeah, that's what I think. So it just kind of amazed me that, he's effectively achieved immortality.
That's got to tickle him a little bit in a creepy way, knowing him.
You want to tickle Stephen King?
I'm not tickling him. I'm going to send Corbs.
Not even on OnlyFans?
Mm-mm.
I'll go and tickle him.
Well, I did. I finished a book this week.
I can ask him about sons while I'm tickling him.
You what? You steal his wallet? Is that what he said?
I can ask him about the sons.
There you go. Oh, that's right, because he was on there. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did a guest spot. I forgot.
Yep.
So I finished a novel this week, guys. Not my own. Like I'm still working on that one. I read lots of them. Most of them are Star Wars.
Book did you read this time?
Yeah. Thrawn Ascendancy, Chaos Rising. Super good book. I'm a huge Timothy Zahn fan, especially with all of his Thrawn books. This is actually a prequel. It brings it back to before he defected from the Chiss Ascendancy and came to the Empire. It tells you about his humble beginnings and how he fucks up a lot. And it's a really cool book. That's hopefully the characterization they use for the Ahsoka show is close to what they're doing in these books, because it's awesome. He's just so cool. I cannot wait to see him on screen after all of these. And now I have to wait till April for the sequel to this book. But check it out. Really good book. It's already on Audible as well. Kindle, find it everywhere else. Check it out if you're a fan of any of these Star Wars Thrawn books. They've all been great. This one ties back into one of the earlier books from a couple of years ago. There's a spot in the middle of the book where all of a sudden they start referencing stuff that happened at the beginning of Thrawn Alliance, like where he meets Anakin Skywalker for the first time, and you kind of see the other side of it, like Thrawn's side of it instead of Anakin's. And it's really cool the way they did it and how it plays in and advances this storyline further. Very, very good. Very smart writing. So
fantastic.
Yes. That's all I've got.
That's all I got.
All right. So we ready to drop some wisdom nuggets then?
Oh, drop your nuggets, Paul.
All right. The other day I saw a mattress strapped on top of a car with a DoorDash sticker in the window. Thought to myself, are they contracting with prostitutes now? Good night, everybody, and megabyte me, bitches.
This has been a GeekPod Network production.